Yes, of course, it's time to talk figures right here on 92.3 Nigeria Info FM. Yes, time to untangle the complexities of the business world. Are you ready? Get really close because today is going to be a very interesting day. I tried my very best to bring you the most pressing topic in the world of business today. And I didn't just bring you the most pressing topic, I brought the most suitable person to bring insights on the show today. How are you doing, by the way? I hope the money in your pocket is growing. I know there's a crisis, right? A living cost crisis going on. I know. Anyways, my name is Chioma Ezenwafo and I'm your host. And today, talking about the living cost crisis. It's been on and this year is like the worst we've ever had it. Every day someone tells me about something that has suddenly risen in price. And then when we talk about the house rent or cost of land, we really hope it doesn't get there. So the question is, has it really gotten there? You know, what's the current situation when it comes to the real estate market? Of course, you know, Port Harcourt has been one of the key places where the real estate developers usually would always have their eyes on them, on Port Harcourt people and Port Harcourt generally. So we'd like to know what it is that's been going on in that industry since this cost of living crisis started. Of course, the high cost of living is what I'm talking about, and almost everything has been affected. I said almost. I think everything. I do not know of anything that has not been affected. Everything has been affected. The very least of it has been affected. So we're going to find out what this industry, how is this industry coping? How is it affected the real estate sector? And how are they ensuring that they stay afloat? And is this a good time to invest? That question is very important. The little change that we have left, is this a good time to throw money into the real estate sector or to hold back? I would like to know, is this a property boom time or a potential bust? Are we going to see people losing their homes and selling off? I don't know. The questions are there. And if you think you have the answer, I would like to hear from you. Yes, you get to share your thoughts on the show. You can actually start right now. We're live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube. Yes, we're live. And so you can go there and drop your comments. And at the right time, I'm going to read it. Yes, on X, we are also there. You can tweet at us at Nigeria Info PH. Yes, you can share your messages there as well. I'll read them in a bit. And of course, on WhatsApp, shoot me a text at 0809 080 6416. 0809 080 6416. That's the WhatsApp number. Drop your messages there. And very soon, we're going to open the phone lines as well. And then I'll read your messages as well. So I have a guest, like I said, someone who's been in this sector. You hear his name almost all the time. I'm talking about the mayor of housing. Yes, my ace China joins me for this conversation, but he's joining on telephone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chioma.
Yes, good to hear your voice. Thank you for joining me.
Awesome pleasure to be on Nigeria Info.
Yes, it's always good to have you. And then on Talking Figures especially because we're talking about your sector, your world. So we need you to bring us this information when it comes to all what has been going on, especially in Port Harcourt and the environs. But first, let's go for Market Watch. Let's go see what the rest of the market looks like right now, and then we get back to this conversation. Are you game?
Very game.
All right. And so looking at the big stories in business before we go over to the topic of the day, starting with this one about the World Trade Organization saying that Nigeria has lost its leading position in the agriculture export markets because its agricultural commodities do not meet the sanitary and phytosanitary requirements of the foreign markets. Plenty English, simple and short. Nigeria is not trying when it comes to I know we've talked about this on this show before actually. When it comes to exportation, we are usually in a hurry and we do not look to check and meet standards. a training is actually required. The last guest I had talked about, the last time I talked about this, the guest said a training is required for you to know what what different countries need and what the standards are before you do that. But most Nigerians just want to throw it in there and export it, and so it's put us in a very bad position, and we are not in the leading position. We've lost it. This story says. What do you think, Mayor of Housing? What do you think about this story and how we are doing when it comes to exporting agricultural products at this time?
Well, the reality about agriculture in Nigeria right now, if you are truthful, there's only one state out of the 36 states that are in the right direction, and that is Niger State. And even Niger State has just started the primer to the revolution that should be happening in that industry. The primer is that they have launched the Agri Revolution program and the tractors and some equipment that will help farmers return to the farm. But why I call it a primer is because there are hinterlands in Niger State. We've heard some security squabbles before now in the hinter part of the deeper part of Niger State farmlands. Terrorists are taking over and doing for ransom and doing some terrorist activities. And if you understand our farm system in Nigeria, the real farms are deep into the hinterlands of any location. The farms that are closer to the city center or the capital of every state are usually the small scale farmers that are close. Let me give you an example. If it was River State, the people closer to Port Harcourt are those small scale farmers. The real farms are inside Bori, far down Bori, far down Eche, far down the hinter places. So when security begins to threaten the farmers in those hinter places, the bulk of the farming activities will be halted. But the governor has started a primer by empowering those farmers at the center, and I'm believing that will spread. And if the rest of all the 36 states, including the federal government, does not begin to duplicate what is happening in Niger State, then not only will we not be talking about losing position of productivity or agri, we'll be talking of losing the complete breakdown of the architecture of this country to food crisis and hunger.
You know what you're explaining now reminded me of what we talked about a few weeks ago when we looked at the insecurity in the food sector. Food security, the fact that some governors are asking that they do not, where we say we are curbing food smuggling, moving food out of the country to neighboring countries, and just basically trying to make sure that the exportation is checked. Could that also be the reason why we may be losing the position that we used to have when it comes to exporting agricultural products?
No, I try to go down to the basics or the fundamentals. As one of my mentors, Jim Ron, would tell you, truth is not new, fundamentals are not new. The fundamental of agriculture is agricultural productivity. Whatever reduces your productivity in agriculture will translate to losing everything that comes with that productivity, be it your position, be it export, be it consumption. We are talking about crises where hungry people are looting trucks laden with palliative food. We are talking about a situation where interstate lifting of food was even banned in Niger State a month ago. We're talking about where there is a hunger crisis. So position is not something. It's so superlative.
It's the least of our problems right now.
Talking about that it shouldn't even be something we should be mentioning or discussing now. Right now, the food crisis in Nigeria is such that you go to the market to buy food by 12 noon, and they tell you it's 5,000. And you are shouting, no, yesterday it was 4,000. And you go home to go and bring the extra 1,000.
By the time you arrive,
you come back to the market,
it has increased.
PM, it is now 6,000. And while the person is selling 6,000 for you, the person is making calls to know how the price variation is going to be in the next minute. So it's not only that our productivity has gone down, but the fear of not knowing how how food will come again, it's exacerbating the situation. That was why I told you the only thing that has given us something to talk about is what the Niger State governor has done by boosting agricultural productivity. There is now hope that more food will come. We shouldn't be talking about export. A week or two ago, the people that understand the importance or how dire the situation we are in sent us food aid. That is Ukraine. And people say it's an anomaly and a thing of shame that Ukraine, that their landmass is not up to the landmass of Niger State.
And who are at war.
And they are at war. That means they don't have full control of their landmass.
And yet they have to
give food to a nation like Nigeria. That only one state in Nigeria, Niger State, is bigger than Ukraine. That is the kind of food crisis we're in right now. So for me, I wouldn't be one of those pundits that will become here to discuss superlative issues when the fundamentals are not right. And concerning what you talked about smuggling, the only reason they are smuggling from Nigeria to neighboring states is that the neighboring countries' currencies are now bigger than Nigerian currencies. So what we before now is saying Nigeria will not take food from Nigeria to Cotonou, for instance, because the sector was so weak that 1,000 Nigerian naira was about 5,000 CFA or 6,000. At the point it was 3,000. Now 1,000 Nigerian naira is about is less than 300 CFA. So that means if I have food and I find a way of taking it to Cotonou and they pay me CFA, CFA has become like a hard currency where I'll now come back to Nigeria, change that CFA and have more profit than I would have if I sold it in Naira.
Interesting. So, we need to move forward now. Remember, it's not the main conversation. We're just touching on big stories,
exactly,
okay? And we can stay on this on and on and on.
They should just provide food.
Yes, I like that you mentioned that, because we have the second story here that talks about the CBN allocating about 2 million bags of fertilizer valued at 100 billion naira to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. A lot when it comes to the top, but we're not feeling it at the bottom. What do you think?
The problem I keep saying, and again, in all my news analysis, I always tell people any political solution will not work in Nigeria. Nigeria, anybody approaching the Nigeria political structure and civil service structure as if it is corruption proof. It's not sincere to himself. Part of the way that the last administration wasted 30-something trillion naira on waste, and they told us it was the anchor program that was supposed to lend money to farmers that will produce food. But because of corruption, none of this money got to the farmers, or all of this money was expended. I will assure you that all of this fertilizer that has been approved and sent to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture will not up to 5% of it will get to the farmer. So what are we saying?
That's really sad. So that's one to keep an eye on there.
Intervention. We don't want to hear it dropping. The CBN should go, if they have 200 bags of fertilizer, they should go have locations in each part in Nigeria and have registered farmers come with proof of their farm and come and take this fertilizer in the glaring eye of you and me. But if it's going to be dropped to one ministry, some civil servants will now go through the same architecture that distributed 30-something trillion naira of anchor growers' money, and it never got anywhere. And where we are today, it's still the same old story.
So sad there. Now, before we wrap up Market Watch for today, let's quickly look at this story where we see that the federal government held a workshop for the 36 state commissioners for finance, and the entire Nigeria, they couldn't find the location. They found the location in London for this workshop, and Nigerians think, are we not supposed to be talking about the cutting down